Good morning. We are live. All right, let me get us situated. All right. Good morning. Who am I seeing with me? Dr. Roxanne, Michelle. Good morning, ladies. Good morning. All right. And welcome to another Tea Time Tuesday. As always, let me know what you're drinking. Thank you for joining me. I'm gonna get my sip. Let me know what your beverage of choice is. I've got my tea. And let me know who is with me this morning. I am so happy to be with you for another Tea Time Tuesday. Good morning, Dr. Roxanne. So good to see you and all who's joining. Okay, I'm looking at multiple cameras here to make sure I can see everyone. Yay! All right. So, as everyone is joining in, again, make sure you let me know what you're having there. Good morning, Michelle. So good to see you. All right. Hey there, Kyla. Good morning. Good morning, Mark. Wonderful. Yes. So as always, I always love to know who's joining me and what you're drinking, whatever your beverage of choice is. Yes, we call it Tea Time Tuesday, but come with your water, your coffee, your smoothies, all that stuff, all that good stuff. Okay. Oh yes, black tea lemon. Michelle, you see, I can't even pronounce that. It's so sad, but I'm gonna blame it on my eyes. I say good morning, Rhonda. Um, Great to see you. Oh, Trafala tea. Sounds yummy. Coffee and smoothie. Fran. Coffee and a smoothie. Okay, I know that's right. Good morning, Fran and Francesca. And I know Francesca's going to have her chlorophyll water because she always comes through every week with that, her healthy water. So I love it. All right. So continue to join and let me see the good morning cheers and what you're drinking. And we'll go ahead and get started with today's conversation. Um, Chlorofresh water. There we go. Hot chocolate for Mark. All right. So today we're talking about the business of a legacy building. And really, this topic came up because it's almost the end of the year. It's crazy. I'm still trying to wrap my head around like where on earth did 2023 go? But here we are. Tomorrow's November 1st, and 2024 is around the corner. So, Mark, myself, and the team, we are working on some things internally. We're working on um, actively restructuring our internal database and our standard operating procedures. And because of that, I'm thinking, hmm, I'm going to see a connection. That's one of my gifts. I could see a connection. I could see a purpose and a reason around just about anything. So we're going through this process, and I'm understanding that standard operating procedures play such a vital role in setting clear expectations, in ensuring quality and efficiency, and keeping all the members, all parties involved, really aligned towards a common goal for our business, for any organization. And I'm thinking, okay, this is really important. And here's why this is important and why I wanted to bring this to you today. I am a social media comment reader. Okay. How many of y'all? Am I the only one? I'll tell you why I do it, but I just like reading social media comments. Let's see if anyone else is there. Oh, November's your birthday month, Dr. Roxanne. Happy early birthday. So, yeah, anyone else out here that are comment readers? Okay. I'm a comment reader because I study behavior. That's what I do for a living. That's what I do for fun. Human behavior fascinates me. And I think that looking at very looking at social media comments gives me like a pulse of what's going on in society. And Fran, who's the group therapist, I'm curious if you do that as well, because since you are a therapist, anybody who's coaching therapists who's into really studying people, do you find comments fascinating? It can be dangerous, and I always have to know when I've reached a point of toxicity, and I'll pull back. But in general, I just get a pulse of society. And so in looking and reading comments over the time, it just feels like people are really struggling to understand what to do. And tell me if I'm the only one that's noticing this. Um, it's like what to do. I don't know what to do with money. The struggles to know what to do about relationships. How to have healthy relationships, how to have a healthy relationship with money, how to manage their money, how to be healthy. How to live well. Health wise and wellness. Parenting, how to parent their children. Struggling, and what more with more even more along that line is that there's the struggle um within that. There's this thing like people are winging it. So that's how I look at it. It looks to me like people are out here just winging it. Like I don't even know if that's a term. I'm sure there's another term used these days, but I'm still saying winging it. The struggle to know what to do. And I feel like standard operating procedures is the thing that's missing. As I'm going through this process, people are lacking standard operating procedures for things that have always been here. Now, granted, we are all individuals and life shapes differently for a lot of people. However, there are standard routines in life that if we were given instructions, we would understand. Now, me being, many of you know that I am a believer, I'm a follower of Yeshua, Jesus. And so for me, my standard operating procedures comes from the Bible and instructions from the living word. And so that's one form of instructions there. How but it's also it needs to be in other ways in our lives. And I feel like it's been passed down like in older generations. Standard operations procedures were passed down through storytelling. We shared stories about our families. Um, Recipes, think of it like recipes. You pass down recipes from generation to generation, right? And so you learn how to cook a certain way. There are cultural traditions that are passed down, and it feels like a lot of that is lacking in this day. And I think that's what really stirred up for me and why I wanted to have this conversation, because especially as we are legacy builders here in this group. For many of us, first generation wealth builders. And we need to be clear that what we're not going to do, as one person says, or a lot of people say, what we're not going to do is wing this legacy thing. We are, and we need to make sure that it's a priority and that we set an intention of setting up an internal knowledge base that provides standard operating procedures for us to be able to clearly understand what to do, how to do it, and how to pass it along. And so that's what I wanted to do, just share some of the SOPs that I've learned, that I've developed, that I've done through the years with my family, things I've learned from my family, and just to share, to understand, and to emphasize the importance of really being intentional about this legacy building. So before I go through, let me see some of these comments because I'm seeing them coming through. Comment reading is not for me. Oh, I know, Ron. Okay, Fran, you said you do. Yes, you're a therapist, so I'm sure it's intriguing, just as intriguing for you as it is for me. Sometimes, Dr. Roxanne, sometimes I read comments. I agree. I see it every day. Yep, the struggle, right? People are having challenges. Yes, faking it till we make it. Now, wing it is the right. See, I have okay, Markel. Thank you. Winging it still works. All right, love it. The SOPs is not for me. No, okay. SOPs are necessary. Yes, yes, yes. It's a term. Winging it. Francesca use it all the time. Wonderful. Legacy, intentional SOPs for generational wealth. Yes, ma'am. Okay, Nichelle, the knowledge keepers and storytellers are, yes, dwindling. So important to keep it going. Very important point. And that's where I'm going to pick up from that note. Thank you. Let me just show that because I thought that was a very important comment. The knowledge keepers and the storytellers are dwindling. Sad truth. Important to keep it going. And yes, so that really does lead into what we're talking about here. So let me go into this right here. Give me a second. I'm always trying to figure out how to maneuver this thing here. Here we go. All right. So as I mentioned, going into standard operating procedures for that reason is Nichelle just brought up the importance of keeping it active, being able to pass on what is important. And when I'm talking about legacy wealth building, it is, like I said, it's important to create standard operating procedures for an effective legacy, but it's not just about, is important, leaving a trust, having a will, all the actual processes that you need in order to pass on an inheritance and a financial inheritance. That is very important. And there are procedures that we need to be actively doing. As a financial advisor, obviously, we're here to assist in that between us, estate planning attorneys. This is a part of our job, is to make sure you do have these procedures in place to pass that on. But as you guys know, from Mark and I and this group, it is more than money. Money has to have a purpose. And I think that's where we lack clarity in the, not just the financial assets, but in the intellectual assets. So what does that look like? What can that look like for you? And I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to give you 3 examples of the SOPs that I use for building an effective family legacy. Not perfect, always a work in progress, but effective. All right. So look at the comments. Kyla, will you share a digital copy or provide a template for use of SOPs? Don't worry, Kyla, you're going to have access to that. So no worries, because you're a part of the family legacy experience. So you're good. All right. So the first one is develop strong leadership skills. Developing strong leadership skills was something that my husband and I realized that had to be a part of our, it was a part of the procedures that we had for our family legacy. Um, and I think, and that was passed down from my parents. I grew up hearing, you are a leader, not a follower. You are a leader, not a follower. That was ingrained in Mark and I and my younger brother. And I understood that that was a part of what we needed to be. But honestly, I didn't know exactly what that looked like. What did it mean to be a leader? And then as my kids, I got married and my husband and I worked, we had to really develop our leadership skills. And then when we had kids, teach them the processes of, and take them through the processes of how to be an effective leader, how to be a purposeful leader. And good morning, LaFern. I see you jump in, the leader extraordinaire. Speaking of leadership, it's so funny that she just jumped. I see her name right now. It is about building leadership skills, because that is a very powerful tool to be able to carry on an effective family legacy. What does that look like? How to map that out is important. There are so many resources out there about leadership, right? There's no lack of leadership training. But how are you using that? How are you implementing that into your life? A legacy builder is a legacy leader. So that has to be a priority. It has to be clear, that intention of what does that look like? How am I being an effective leader? And how am I going to pass that information down to the next generation in order to be effective leader? Because it is only the leader that can pass down all that we need to, all the intellectual assets, as well as the financial assets that need to move from generation to generation. So that was a priority. Is developing fruitful, developing strong leadership skills was a priority as far as the standard operating procedures in our family. Okay, definitely important. Michelle, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Kyla, Roxanne. It's my top 10 of priorities I instill in myself and in my children. I learned the meaning daily as it is incentivized, yes. Intensified, sorry, my contacts are not helping me to say intensified. Yes, ma'am. Wonderful. So, the next, number 2, build your knowledge base. So, I started this conversation about the fact that we are building and working on our knowledge base, and within the knowledge base are it's our standard operating procedures. This is why I call this the business of building a family legacy. Because if you're going to notice, how you do one thing is how you do anything. And for those who are business owners, I am really trying who run a business, who understand business. I really want you to see what I'm talking about here. It's about how you run your business, how you run your family, the similarities, the procedures are all there. And growing up in a family business, um, I understood the power of knowledge base. I understood that, my brother and I are fifth generation entrepreneurs in our family, business owners in our family, and we were able to we grew up literally in our family's business as kids, watching my parents work, going into the warehouse, and that really gets ingrained in you. It really got ingrained in us as far as how a business was run. And I saw my parents work together, married couple. People would always come in and ask, "How do y'all live, like work all day together and then go home and still like each other?" And it was so normal for us. It was so normal to see our parents in this relationship. It was being in the family business, all was so normal. And I'm emphasizing that because, yes, I understand that's normal for me and not a lot of other people. So that's why I want you to understand, and hopefully I could teach you that there's similarities as we flow and exist in all these facets of our life. We don't have to change our hats and change who we are, but simply be. And in being, understanding how to build a knowledge base that includes money, that includes how to operate with money, how to operate within the areas of your life that you want to pass on. That is so important. And I think about why, and another reason why this is important, and it kind of came up the other day. My husband does video production for certain companies, a certain organization, nonprofit organizations, and so forth. And I was by him a couple of weeks ago while he was working on one of these videos for his clients, Volunteers of America, and they were highlighting a family. And there were these 3 adorable kids in this video, and one of they're triplets, and there was 2 girls and a boy, and the boy was talking, and he was saying that, when he grows up, he wants to be a truck driver because, my uncle's a truck driver, and I see him, and I want to be able to do that. And I thought it was so adorable and a wonderful thing that he had exposure to his uncle and his uncle's career, and that's what he wants to be. But it also reminded me that because he was exposed to his uncle. Now, I don't know what else or who else he's been exposed to, but who we expose ourselves to, what we expose our excels to could either expand or limit our vision. Understand what I'm saying there? This young man, maybe all he knew, the only person in his life, or he wasn't exposed to a lot of things that were different. So here he saw his uncle was a truck driver, which is, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that. He's clearly his uncle's truck drivers making a decent living. And he sees adventure, he sees excitement. That's what he's exposed to. That's different than his everyday life. And that's what his ambition is. What is your what is your data, your knowledge base exposing you to? What is your knowledge base saying that you're capable of? What is your knowledge base? What is the knowledge base that you're building so that the next generation mindset can be expanded to more? They can only grow and expand. When I say they, the next generation can only grow and expand as much as their starting point. So wherever you're building from, this is you right here, right? This is us building right here. We're building the next level. That's our legacy. So where you are, your vision, that is the next generation's platform. So it is so important for us to make sure that we are building out a knowledge base that they can lean on, that they can pull from, that they can build upon. That's the legacy building we're doing. It involves, like I said, the knowledge, resources, experience, and mentality. That's what our focus is on as we continue to pass on not just the financial assets, but the intellectual assets that are equally, if not more important than the money. So, building a strong knowledge base is the next, SOP that was important for me and my family. And the third one is practice effective intergenerational communication. Practice effective intergenerational communication. Huge, huge, huge one. And you could tell me why. I'm going to go into it, but I think we can understand why as a group as I look at the comments. Let me see the hearts. Yeah, I'm seeing the reactions to that. Yes, let me see. Do you agree? Practice effective intergenerational communication. So this is so important because it's really at the heart of legacy building. Nothing gets done without the ability to communicate what needs to be done, what needs to be passed on. And again, this is kind of where we started, where the struggle is. As I talked about reading the comments, as we talked about how things were passed on, how standard operating procedures were passed on from generation to generation. It was communication, intergenerational communication. And if we really pay close attention, we see where some of that is dying. We see where there is a lack, there's so much conflict between generations that are happening today. And it's kind of really heartbreaking. So it is really a part of our goal, a part of it should be a priority and intention to best for us to be clear on wait a minute, how do we make sure that this lost art is not lost? Because it is. It is being lost throughout the times. And making sure, I think for me, in our household, communication was such a priority. Being able to communicate with our children, active listening. Here's where some of the issues happen. We want to tell the next generation what to do all the time. Like we have all the answers. Y'all don't know what you're doing. You need to just listen to us and do what we say. We got to cut that out. I'm just going to say how it is. We need to cut that out. Active listening is huge. Yes, as adults, we are to instruct and guide the next generation. Along with that, we cannot instruct and guide unless we are actively listening to them. People care far more about how much you care, what you do, more than what you say. They're watching, they're listening, they're paying attention. And if you're not practicing what you're preaching, and if you're not listening to them, nothing that we have to say matters. So, and this is not just, I talk about this as far as in the family legacy building, but like I said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. This impacts us on our jobs. Impacts us in our churches. This impacts us in our lives. We have to make sure that we're practicing effective intergenerational communication skills everywhere and anywhere. And that's how we'll be able to seamlessly integrate it within our legacy building practices. Does that make sense? You guys hear me on this one? Super important. And I'm looking at the comments. Wow. Okay. Heard this in church on Sunday. Wow. The conversation. Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. Look, learn from each other. Yes, ma'am. All of this practice. Yes, I love these. Markel, yes, you are who you are surrounding yourself with, what you read, watch, put into yourself. Yes, so much good information there. Who and what we are exposed ourselves to can expand or to minimize our vision. Thank you. Absolutely. So many great comments here. I'm going to go back at the end of this and definitely go through all these comments because you guys are getting it. And that's what I'm talking about. So, as we reach the bottom of the hour, just making sure that we're seeing the issue here, that we're living in a world that is going in a direction that doesn't always seem very positive. And we're living in a world where people are struggling. People are struggling to learn some of the lessons, some of the wonderful lessons that that have been practiced over and over again from generations past, right? And yeah, there's some things that we can leave behind. But I'm talking about the information, the knowledge base that absolutely needs to be passed down. The information that is vital to our lives in the area of family, fitness, finance, and faith. Now I'm going to talk about those four legacy pillars. When it comes to the legacy pillars, we need to have a strong knowledge base that includes standard operating procedures that can be passed down from generation to generation. The only way that's being done, and the only way that can be done, is with intentionality. And starting with intentionality, you can make an effective effort with discipline and decisiveness that will provide clear instructions. It could be written instructions. It could be verbal instructions. If you're a journaler, you love to journal. Start looking at those journals as a library that you can put aside that the future generation can pass down. And I have my journal here. And I had this conversation with my husband the other day that I was like, honey, our journals are going to be a library for the next generation. Of course, my husband's like, good luck them trying to understand my handwriting because his handwriting is interesting. But love you, dear. But yeah, he admitted it. It might be hard for him to read. But we realize we have audio files, we have our journals. There's so much technology. So there's so many ways to start recording your knowledge and your wisdom and placing into your knowledge base so that the next generation does not have to wing it, so that you can continue to remember to learn from your lessons, from the lessons you've already been through, so that you realize that you don't have to wing it. The information is there. And the more we build on what we've done in the past, the more foundational strength that we have to build our legacy so that the next generation is starting out with a firm foundation. So I want to thank you guys for all the wonderful comments. I know you got it. Yes, I see Dr. Roxanne. I'm so glad. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are really, really understanding and really getting this. And like I always said, I know y'all are my people because of the way y'all respond. We are in this group together. We're going to continue to build a legacy together. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week, a wonderful Tuesday, and I will see you next Tuesday for the next tea time. I'll talk to you then.